What's up, guys? We are back with another Star Wars Black Series review, taking a look at what is arguably the most anticipated Star Wars figure of the year. We are, of course, talking about the Mandalorian, the child, Baby Yoda, the asset, whatever you want to call him. And this guy is a little bit of a special release because, well, he is an incredibly diminutive, small, tiny, minuscule figure, and he comes in packaging to support that, so I can't express enough how tiny this thing is. If you remember the Porgs, it's very much a similar situation to that. So we've got this little guy here in a very small, very square Black Series box, same kind of style, just smaller. So you've got the figure in the window, no picture on this one, probably because there's really not enough space for it, and just the logo for the show. He does not get a number, and then on the back you just have a bunch of warnings. There is nothing else on this box, so let's do it. Let's pull this little guy out and take a look. And here he is out of the package, the child from the Mandalorian. So this guy is interesting because it's an action figure, but it's kind of a loose action figure, if that makes any sense. He doesn't really do a great deal. It's mostly for the looks. I don't think anybody's buying this because they expected him to be dynamic or anything like that. He does move around, but I think Hasbro really did a good job just kind of nailing the scale, the size, and the overall looks on this guy. He does come with a few interesting, funny accessories too. So let's get to it as usual and see what this guy can do. So as far as moving this guy around, like I said, he is just a bunch of ball joints. There is nothing else. It's a series of ball pegs throughout the figure. So you've got a ball jointed head that bobbles up and down, and then he tilts side to side a little bit, and you do have full rotation there. The arms, they are able to go out a little bit at the shoulder, sort of like a flapping motion, and then you can raise them up and rotate them back a little bit. So it's basically full rotation. And then the hands are also ball jointed, so the hands will move independent, so you can kind of have him palming something or just sort of, waving his hand around. The feet down there are also ball jointed, so there's just a little bit of wiggle side to side. They don't really do a whole lot. It's mostly just to add probably an ease of use when it comes to construction on this guy, because the feet would have to be separate pieces, it looks like, and they gave them ball joints. So you can sort of move them around, but they don't really do anything. I think the biggest thing for this guy is his ability to look slightly up. So to have him looking at the Mando, and then just have his arms kind of, outstretched a little bit to make it look like he's maybe going to hug someone or running after something. So he doesn't do a great deal, but he is probably more articulated than I expected for being so tiny. Without a doubt, though, my main interest for this figure is the looks, the size, the scale, and just the overall design, because this thing looks far more screen accurate than any of the little custom pieces that I've seen or the one that I own. They've been really good placeholders, don't get me wrong, but this guy is very much more accurate, and I think that Hasbro did a really solid job here, from the overall way that the coat jacket hangs on him, the wrinkles that run down it, the really oversized collar that sits around his neck. It very much looks like he's wearing a coat that is way too big for him, which is what we should see. It is maybe lacking in paint because it doesn't really have any. I would be really curious to see what some sort of a brown wash would do on it, but the overall look and feel is really nicely done. It very much looks, like he's wearing this thing that is 10 sizes too big for him, but it's all about the head sculpt, undoubtedly, and I think that they really knocked it out of the park. It looks fantastic. It has a gentle shading on it on the top of the head. The eyes are really dark compared to the skin tone, and just the face sculpt and the overall sizing of the head in comparison to the body, in comparison to those ears, really works well. And the ears, of course, have that nice pink shading in there too, to help make him pop a little bit more. So, this guy is very tiny. He's very small. He's all about really how he scales with other figures. I think they nailed the sculpt as far as I'm concerned. There is, of course, a slight lack of paint on this figure, but he is incredibly cheap, so I'm not too upset about that. But I do think that the head sculpt, the face, is really what ties it all together, and it's probably worth the price of admission on its own because it is so damn cute. Obviously, sizing, scaling is important, and as I mentioned, here we go. We've got some size comparisons between other Black Series figures that, I think kind of warrant it. So Armando, of course, is the best representation of a figure for this little guy, and I mean, he is just so small by comparison. It's crazy to see something this tiny that's actually in scale. So we've seen this before with, Babu Frick or the Porg, but it's just so cute. It's ridiculous. And then you've got Yoda there, just to give you an idea of what a different size Black Series figure looks like. But what about other figures that aren't normal 6-inch size figure. So here he is next to Babu Frick. He's actually taller than Babu. What about a Porg? He is taller than a Porg as well. And then maybe just to give you an idea of something that isn't Black Series, just maybe for a point of reference, here he is with a Lego minifigure, and you can see that he is like basically up to the shoulders on a Lego minifigure. So this guy is incredibly small. There is a lot to play around with. I mean, he'll be like a doll in pretty much any character's hand. So if you want to use him as a doll for a character, you've got that. But he's also going to scale really well with figures that he actually goes with. So the Mando, IG-11, Cara Dune, stuff like that. Now, as far as accessories goes, we have this little box full of stressful, tiny items for me. So these things are kind of begging to be lost, I think, but they are pretty cool because a lot of them are very pivotal things as far as moments in the show. So you've got this little box that they all come in, and they just sort of pop out of there. It's a two-piece thing slided apart. I was really worried I was going to lose them all. Obviously, I haven't yet, but time will tell. So you've got the little shifter knob thing that he gets out of the Razor's Crest up top. He can balance that in his hand just fine. It's basically just a little ball of plastic. Can't really do anything else with it except, like I said, lose it. And then you've got the little bone broth bowl there that he carries around in the show. You can't really make him hold it like he does in the show. It's not big enough for that, and of course his arms don't fold in on themselves to do that, but he can balance it in one hand just fine. And then the last thing he comes with is the little frog that he eats, which is pretty cool. Just a little plastic frog with some green paint, a little shading on it, and then that singular eye. He can't really hold it, but he, I'm not sure he really needs to. I think the best thing to do with him is just have him chase it down. So he does have some cool stuff here. Again, be cautious about it because of the fact they are all begging to be lost, but they are all pretty funny, cool accessories. So overall, I do really like this figure. He's a $10 little baby Yoda, basically. Who's not going to buy this thing? Every Black Series collector, I'm sure, is going to be getting one of these guys, and I think you're going to have a good time with it. He is, kind of weird in some ways because he doesn't move all that well, but at the end of the day, he's a tiny little blob of plastic, so what did you expect? He does look really good, though. I think the likeness is really good there. The way that jacket hangs is really nice. He does have some slightly stress-inducing accessories for me because I still think I'm going to lose that little ball, but they are really good accessories for him as far as moments in the show and just kind of funny aspects of Baby Yoda, of the child. So I'm glad that they included that stuff, and I'm really glad they included that little box to help people like me not lose all of them. So yeah, I don't really see any reason not to buy this unless you're just not a fan of the little dude or the Mando. So that's going to do it for this look at the Star Wars Black Series, The Child. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.